I used to work at a retail pharmacy store, and after a couple months of working there, I got promoted to shift supervisor. And that's what our store called managers. So I had to become the boss of my coworkers and friends who were cashiers. And that was kind of a weird transition, but I got used to it quickly, and I think I balanced the work-friend relationship pretty well. That also meant I had to be the boss of this middle-aged woman named Sally. And she didn't work at my store permanently, but she would come in sometimes to pick up shifts when someone else couldn't, because I think she probably just really needed the hours. She was a very soft-spoken person, and she always had a cast on her leg for as long as I knew her. So that was months of time with a cast on her leg. And I still don't know what happened, but it must have been pretty bad. But anytime she needed help with something, she would come to me and ask the question, and she would walk across the store to ask me rather than paging on like the walkie or calling on like the PA system. And that must have sucked for her leg. And she would preface every question that she had to ask me with sorry first. Like it was a burden to ask me the question, which it really wasn't, because it's my job. And then she would, after every question, she would say thank you, like a little too thankfully. You know, I really wasn't sacrificing much for her. It was just what I was supposed to do. And it just felt kind of weird because she was at least 30 years older than me. And I never did anything to earn that much respect from her. But I appreciated it. I really appreciated the politeness. I tried to be as polite as possible back to her. She would take a bus and a train to get to this store. I think it was a pretty long commute for her. And I'm not going to tie my socks together. And whenever she would come in, all the employees had a back room where they would put their stuff. But when she would come in, she would put her stuff in the manager's room, which was locked. And she would need a manager to let her in. Maybe because the back room was too far for her to walk in her cast. Which didn't make much of a difference because she walked around the whole store anyway. But there was one night where I was the closing manager, so I had to make sure the store was closed by 10 o'clock and locked up when everyone was out. So I finished counting the money that night around 9:50 p.m. and we were all ready to go. Everyone was ready to leave. And so we all signed out, and I walked to the door to lock it, the main entrance, and I felt for my keys, and they were not in my pockets, and I left them in the manager's office, and the door locks behind you. So I told everyone they could leave, get their stuff and go, and I would figure out what to do. The problem was that Sally had her things in the manager's office, and she was not going to come back to the store for a little while. So she needed to get her things. She couldn't leave them there overnight. And she wouldn't have been able to get on the bus and the train without her purse anyway. So I did what I could to try to break into the manager's office. I used like a different credit card and a bobby pin, and nothing worked. And I realized the only thing that I could do to lock this store up and to get my keys back was to call another shift supervisor. So I called everyone I could, and no one answered. Everyone was home asleep. I wouldn't have answered if someone called me. And finally, one person did. And they said they would come by in 40 minutes. So we waited 40 minutes. The lights in the store began to turn off, except for the emergency lights that would stay on. So we could still see a little bit, but it was pretty dark. I told Sally she could clock back in and try to get some pay for the time that she was staying. I didn't think it would work like that, but I did offer my boss after that if she needed those hours, I would take it out of my pay. And so she began to vacuum the store and do a bunch of work and just make the most out of the time that she had to wait. And I kept apologizing, and she kept saying it was okay, and it was good to get the extra work done. After an hour of like really awkward silence, the shift supervisor came and helped me get in the office, and I got my keys. And Sally got her stuff from the office, and she told me that she missed her bus and her train. And she asked me to Google when the next train was coming or when the next bus was coming so that she would know how long she had to wait. It was 11 o'clock at night at this point. I could tell she didn't want to walk around the city at night. So I told her that I would just get her an Uber, and she's very thankful. A little too thankful, as usual. And I never saw her again after that. At least I don't think so. This was kind of right before COVID times. So my memory of my job is a little foggy once that started. But that's one of the more lighthearted memories I have of my job there. And I hope Susan finally got that cast off her leg.